you here alone, busy playing on your phone. See, math was never hard for me. Subtract the thugs.
What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, aka That Cadillac Guy, coming to you today not from the Ratty Garage, but from the Hoosier Cave. It is too hot in the Ratty Garage, so I had to move it inside. So, candy stripe wall in full effect, the big screen, the little screen. Can I get the bar sign? Kind of in there. Chilling in the Hoosier Cave. So today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. As you know, I've got a lot of crazy stories. But today, I've got a nice adult beverage. Of course, the IU beer mug, Hoosier gear, IU basketball all day, every day. I'm gonna do something different. Instead of giving you one crazy story, I'm gonna give you about 4 or 5 short crazy stories, just the cliff notes, the high points of these 4 or 5 crazy stories, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. And as always, in all these little mini stories, there'll be some little sub stories, so just hold on, and I'm just going to go for it, and you guys just follow me. So our first story is about Wendy and Bob. Now Bob, you might remember from an earlier video where he trashed my brother-in-law's truck. So that's Bob. So anyway, me and Bob and another guy, another homeboy, Max, were visiting Bob's girlfriend Wendy at her house, and her cousin was there, Cindy. Now, okay, here's another little sub story. Max was a real tall guy in our neighborhood, and his nickname was Spider. We all had nicknames. So at some point we thought it would be cool to form a gang. And he was Spider, and he was about a year older than us, so he was the leader. We called ourselves Spider's Web. Let me throw it up. Don't get caught up in it. It's still legit. Pleasant Hills edition. You already know. We had t-shirts made with like a spider on it and our names on the back. It's so weak. But anyway, sub-story going. So me and Bob and Max are over at Wendy's house with her cousin Cindy. So Wendy and Bob go upstairs. And let me also say, you know, and we were 14, 15, you know, a couple of my homeboys had girlfriends. We all had little girlfriends. And like my little girlfriends were just like, you know, kind of junior high girlfriends, or, you know, you maybe get to second base or something, no big deal. But a couple of my homies, like them and their girlfriends, like they were doing grown up stuff back then. I was just like, whoa, like I wasn't quite ready. Anyway, so Bob and Wendy go upstairs. So of course me and Max and Cindy are messing with them, like, you know, we'd go upstairs and go, hey, what are you guys doing? You know, hey, you know, Wendy, your mom's here, huh? So, you know, we were blocking hard, just being pests. So anyway, Cindy was downstairs. Me and Max are up on the landing, you know, kind of messing with them. Here comes Wendy's mom for real. Like these apartments, like if you open the front door, you're looking right up the stairs to the landing where me and Max were. And her mom comes in, it's like, where's Wendy? She says, what in the hell are you guys doing here? And we're just like, oh, and up she comes. And, you know, it's a little mini, you know, it's a thin stair. So me and Max are like, you know, excuse me, like she's hot. Me and Max bolt out of there, get on our bikes, and we're booking. And, you know, we had a pretty good head start. Here comes Bob, like, you know, a minute later, just flying on his bicycle. We were freaking out. And we had a little place in the woods where we'd hang out. We went back there, and Bob said, you know, they heard us say, you know, it's Wendy's mom. We're like, yeah, right. Well, she, like, busted in their bedroom door, slapped Wendy across the face. Bob's getting his clothes on. She was cussing him out. It was crazy, man. Our hearts were just pounding. I can't imagine what Bob was feeling. Okay, so that's that little crazy story. So, on to the next crazy story. And this crazy story is one of the weirdest and creepiest things that's ever happened to me. I swear to God it's true. It was very bizarre. So anyway, this time my buddy Steve. Now Steve, you'll remember from the Super High, Super Hungry, Super Broke. He was my partner in crime on that. I was over at my buddy Thin Man's house, just chilling. And I got a call from Steve at Thin Man's house, which is kind of weird. I don't know how he knew I was over there or whatever. But I was like, you know, hello. And he was like super upset and high. Like he was like, man, you're going to tell me. I know you're going to tell me. I'm like, tell you what? I said, what are you talking about? What's going on? He's like, and he was like almost crying, like really upset. And I was like, dude, what's going on? He said, I just know you're going to tell me, man. You're going to tell me. And like hung up, and I was just like, what was that? That was insane. And this was like 10 a.m. in the morning. Well, later that evening, like late, like, I don't know, like 7 or 8, you know, much later in the evening, there was a girl that we went to school with. She was in my grade, and Steve was a year older than me, and they had kind of dated, a little bit. But she was walking down the highway. Like I've told you, Highway 32, little two-lane highway, ran right through our town. And unfortunately, she was hit and killed, by a car. And without even thinking about it, I found out about it, and not even thinking about the phone call earlier, I called Steve. I was like, Steve, dude, did you hear about Geneva? And as soon as I said it, I realized, like, oh my God, I just told him. And he was like, he was kind of freaked out. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm telling you this. And he's like, what? Because he kind of didn't remember it. Like, he didn't freak out. Like, initially he was freaking out on the first phone call. And the second call, I was freaking out. But he almost didn't even remember what I was talking about. I was like, dude, you called me freaking out saying I was going to tell you something. And I just called you and told you this girl got hit and killed by a car. I mean, just chills. It was just so bizarre. It was just true story. It was crazy. So that's that story. Let me wet my whistle real quick. The first and only time I ever tried chewing tobacco. I was probably 19 or 20, and we were buddies hanging out, playing cards, drinking beer, just having a good time. And I can drink a ton of beer. I can always handle my beer. I'd never hardly ever got blackout and drunk, or I was always maintained pretty well. So anyway, some dude breaks out gosh, I wish I could remember. It had an Indian on it. So you people who might know something about that, it had an Indian on it. They all were just passing it around. And, they didn't know I didn't smoke or chew or anything. And I said, let me get a plug of that. And they're like, no, dude. And I was like, no, for real. So they said, okay, if you're going to do it. Don't waste this chew. So I got what they call a 2-finger thing, popped that in my gum with a big thing. And I was one of the crowd. I was like, what's up? I had my little spit cup. I was ready to go. Well, it was a matter of minutes. Like, felt as drunk as I'd ever been in my life. Like, dizzy, couldn't stand straight, felt sick to my stomach, like I fell out. They were just laughing at me like, dude. So I was like, man, I need to go. Somebody needs to take me home because I'm sick. This is bad. Of course, I spit all that stuff, but I think I swallowed a bunch of it. It was awful. So at the time, my Camaro was on the fritz, so I was driving my dad's 3/4 ton Dodge pickup truck. It was a big old truck. I think it was 70, 71 Dodge. But it had power steering, power brakes, air conditioning. It was a pretty nice little old truck. So one of my friends, Bob, said, I'll give you a lift home. And I'm not sure how he was going to get home. But anyway, he was going to give me a lift back to my place, my apartment I was living. So we pile in the truck and he's driving. And he didn't really know. He thought this was a big old truck. He didn't know it had power brakes. So we come to the first stop sign. He hits the brakes hard. Boom! I hit my head. Cracked the windshield, cut my head, I'm bleeding, I'm sick, I'm just miserable. He's laughing, and I was like, dude, man. So anyway, and at this time I was a little dude, believe it or not. So he helped me get upstairs. We had lived up on the second floor. And once you opened our apartment up, there was just a long hallway that ended in our bathroom. And I said, man, just get me to this bathroom and I'll be good. I'll just do what I got to do. So he got me in there and I was sick, throwing up, just a mess. I've never been so, I don't know if it was drunk or high or dizzy. I don't know what. It was terrible. And so I'm out of it. And to make matters worse, like an hour later, my roommate comes home. He had been on a date with this girl, his very first date. And he was bringing her to our house. They walk up, open the door, down the hall, and there I am. And I'll have to talk to him and confirm this, but I may or may not have been naked, passed out in the bathroom. And he was just like, excuse me. So that was that little story. It was awful. So then I've mentioned the Wooden Nickel, the restaurant that we all worked at, me and my roommates and all our friends. It's just we closed this place. We literally closed the business, which is nothing you should brag about, but we were just out of control. And there are so many stories I have about this restaurant. This is the one where my roommate Lance, we just dropped him off when he was passed out drunk and just dropped him off for his shift, and he was like, come get this dude. But there's so many stories there. we used to have cleaning parties, and basically that was just an excuse to go in and maybe wipe a few things down and just pound beer, just get hammered. And the initial first part of that time I worked there, I still lived with my parents. So I was like 18 years old maybe. So one night we were just pounding beers. And me and my roommate Lance, again, Lance is the guy that we dropped off and passed out. For some reason, we thought it'd be a good idea. They had decorative wine bottles hanging out here and there, but they were like legit wine. It was real, wine. It wasn't like water stuff in them. So we got into that. We started drinking the decorative bottles off the effing wall. And I'll never forget as long as I live. I don't drink wine. I don't know nothing about it. Maybe you guys can tell me if anything about this. It was Mateus Rosé. We grabbed this bottle of Mateus Rosé, crack it, and drink it. But he and I just completely destroyed, just smashed. So it's time to go. I got to go home. I still live with my parents, and I had like a 20-minute drive back home. And for some reason, I thought, you know what? It's a good idea. I want to take some beer home, man. Like, I want to party tomorrow. So I went back in the cooler. And again, this is the restaurant where I labeled some stuff inappropriately. Go check it out in Health Inspector Fail. There was like a 5-gallon bucket of, we kept chicken scuzz in or pickles or whatever. If you worked at a restaurant, you know what I'm talking about. Or a paint bucket. I forget what was in it, but I dumped out whatever was in it. Rinsed it out, cleaned it. And I went to the kegs and started filling up this 5-gallon bucket full of beer. And I got it about 3/4 of the way. I had to tilt it, that's about as much as I could get in it. So I hop in my 71 Camaro, no lid on this thing, sit this thing in the passenger seat, hammered drunk. Once again, don't drink and drive, folks. It's not cool. I'm not trying to glorify that at all. It's stupid. But off I head back to home with my bucket of beer. I'm turning corners, it's sloshing. I mean, if I would have got pulled over, they would have just thought I was the biggest idiot on the planet, which I was. So I make it home, and I'm carrying this giant bucket of beer. I stagger in there, and my parents' refrigerator was kind of full of stuff. I start taking racks out and food, and I put this bucket of beer in the fridge. Shut the door and went to bed. The next morning, my mom wakes me up. She's like, "What is this beer? What is this?" I was like, "Oh, man, just throw it out." She was just like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Oh, God. Another time, it was a weeknight, and me and my Lance, the guy we dropped off drunk, and his brother Scott, who was also another roommate later, were working all together. And it was kind of a slow night. It was before the dinner rush or whatever. And I forget who had it or did it. Say, "Hey, let's step outside and smoke this joint before the shift," or, before everything's going. We're like, "Yeah, cool." So we hop outside, and we're the kitchen people, like it's us. And we just run outside real quick. We're going to smoke this real quick. And so we do that, and I don't know how long we were out there. I don't think it was too long, but we go back in the back door, and it's somebody shut and locked it. We had kind of set it up so we could get back in. Somebody shut it. We were like, "Oh, dang." So the only way, we had to walk around the front of the building like customers and everything, wearing our little shirts, with nickel shirts, coming in the front door, like, "Excuse me, hi." And when you walked in, there was like a salad bar, and you could see back in the kitchen, there was an open window where the kitchen was, and there was our manager, just mean mugging, just like super mad at us. We're like, "Yeah, excuse me." So we go back in there. He had locked us out. He was so mad. Like, who does that? Like, we should have been fired immediately. But, to no one's surprise, Lance went to work one morning. He was the opener. And he came home like 20 minutes later. I was like, "Dude, what's up?" He said, "Man, the restaurant's closed." He said, "There's chains on the door," and said, "We are closed. We don't have a job anymore." I was like, "What?" Shocker. We drank that place out of business. And I could go on and on. There's so many stories about the people there and the crazy stuff we did, but that's that. But that's my little lightning round of crazy stories. If you like lightning rounds, let me know, because I could do these forever. I got a million of them. Comment. Let me know what you think. Also, I wanted to continue my You Might Be From Indiana If series. You might be from Indiana if you play euchre. It's a card game. And I've lived in a few different states, and I've never found anybody else that knows anything about it other than Indiana. And it's big in Indiana. It's spelled weird. I'm probably going to get flamed on this, but I think it's like Eucher. maybe, or RE. Comment down below if I hacked it up, but it's like you play with your partner and it's suit based. It's a really fun game, but definitely big in Indiana. You might be a Hoosier if you play euchre. What's another? Oh, you might be a Hoosier if you wash your clothes. Like I say, I gotta wash my clothes. My wife's like, what are you gonna do? I said, wash my clothes. She said, you mean wash your clothes? I said, just wash. Well, I say wash. So you might be a Hoosier if you wash your clothes. But anyway, that's my blog for today. I appreciate you guys watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, share, all that stuff. Do all that stuff so we can keep the channel going. I'm going to have some more Cadillac content. Those videos, people seem to like them, so I can do a bunch of those too. So anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me see. You know, one thing that I forgot to say, but I really want to say is never drive faster than your angels can fly. I'm out.
I see you here alone, busy playing on your phone. See, math was never hard for me. Subtract the thugs.